What up, cooks? It's your boy, the hater, up in this space. And as you can probably hear, my dog is outside barking at a cat. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't play around these parts. If you come at us, we bark at you. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's get to the topic at hand. Mercedes Mone, the gift that keeps on not giving. Now, Mercedes Mone, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated wrestlers of all time, right there with AJ Lee, right? Remember when AJ Lee was around? She was around for like 3 or 4 years, and she retired. People were like, "Thank you, AJ." Like, what did she ever do? You know what I'm saying? Name 5 matches she's had. Exactly, you can't because she sucks. Same thing with Mercedes Mone, the CEO. Number one, this girl isn't wrestling, right? The fact of the matter is that nowadays it has become paramount to follow this stupid ass formula of if you don't have to wrestle, well, you sure as shit are not going to wrestle, right? This is why every week we force ourselves to watch things like Umberto Carrillo and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see Joaquin Wilde, who I actually think is quite okay, but nobody wants to see him anyways, right? These are the realities, the truths of the matter. Now, when Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné wrestles, who's she gonna wrestle? Is she gonna wrestle for the women's title? No, that would make too much sense. Instead, she's wrestling someone named Willow Nightingale, who I've seen like once or twice, who apparently is the TBS champion. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, for some reason, Sasha Banks is okay with being the female equivalent of the Intercontinental Champion. Meanwhile, the women's champion, I'm not even sure who it is. As far as I know, it's Toni Storm, but I don't know and I don't really care, right? There should be only one women's champion, and this, as a result, should lead to a roster of about 10 women, right? That's all you need. You don't need 50 women and 13 women's titles. The fact of the matter is this. If there's no cohesiveness and no consistency, as is the case with WWE as well as AEW, I should say, then we find ourselves in these situations, right? Mercedes Moné is wrestling for the boring title. Just like when Jade Cargill, who was obviously a star, they're like, yeah, it's going to be you against like Red Velvet. Wow, that's going to get a lot of asses in seats. No, it should be Jade Cargill squashing 10 Red Velvets in a row. But no, instead of making Jade Cargill the champion, they're like, nah, I think we're going to make Thunder Rosa the champion, and Thunder Rosa is going to wrestle Hikaru Shida, because that's what everyone wants to see. Oh, Britt Baker is the champ, even though Jade Cargill is 100 times better. Oh, but hater, you forget, Britt Baker trained with Adam Cole. I don't give a flying fuck. It's never been about that. Wrestling is an easy thing to pick up. That's why celebrities come out of nowhere and they pick it up. That's why there's no ring rust. The Rock comes back and he's just fine, right? Because it's fake. It's not a real sport where it's like, oh, you haven't played in a long time. How will you do it now? There's no ring rust in actual in pro wrestling, right? Ring rust exists in actual combat sports where it's like, oh shit, I forgot what it's like to get punched in the face by someone who's big and strong. So now I'm not going to perform as well. But I digress. The fact of the matter is Mercedes Moné is being booked like a Jade Cargill, except there's two differences. Number one, Jade Cargill actually wrestled, and number two, she's better than Sasha Banks in every measurable manner, right? There's not one thing that Sasha Banks does better. I don't want to hear this shit about Sasha Banks is better in the ring. No, she isn't. Sasha Banks is atrocious in the ring, right? Despite what I just said about wrestling being easy and not a real sport, you still need basic levels of athleticism. Now, if you were to take Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair, they would all be considered great female athletes. But realistically, none of them are especially athletic, right? Neither is Jade Cargill, don't get me wrong, right? I would say that very few wrestlers are actually athletic. This is why they're in wrestling, right? Now, a lot of them work out, right? No doubt about it. But let's be real. If you were to take, I don't know, let's take an example of fucking Damian Priest, right? Damian Priest. If you were to take Damian Priest and you took J.J. Watt, or perhaps Luke Kuechly, formerly of the Panthers, or perhaps Rob Gronkowski of the Patriots and later the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you took, let's say Gronk, that's the person people know the most, and you took Gronk and you took Damian Priest and you said, all right, we're going to randomly pick 100 sports and we're going to see who's going to win in more sports. Like, Gronk would beat him in every sport, right? Because Gronk is a real athlete. He's actually athletic, right? He's not an actor who goes to the gym once in a while, right? That's what wrestlers are. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Wrestlers are supposed to be more entertaining than people like Gronk, right? Like The Rock is more entertaining than someone like Gronk, even though Gronk would whoop his ass and beat him in every sport, right? Let's not forget, The Rock, just like every other Samoan wrestler, wanted to be in the NFL, but they couldn't get it done. Whereas Gronk is like a guaranteed Hall of Famer. But the point I'm trying to make is this. There's no real like athleticism going on here, right? Sasha Banks, I'll give you a great example. You can go look at any one of her matches. When she does the backstabber into the bank statement, ask yourself, could any reasonable person quickly get out of this move? The answer is absolutely, right? You have to literally play along with Sasha Banks to let her do this horseshit move on you, right? Whereas, give credit where credit's due, if you look at, I don't know, the way that Chris Benoit like did the cripple crossface, right? He would just grab the guy's arm and just slam them down and then put the crossface on him quickly and efficiently, right? Where even though obviously it's unrealistic that he can do that to like Brock Lesnar or The Big Show, for example, right? It's not unrealistic that he can do it to Jericho or Eddie Guerrero, that he can manhandle them and put them in the submission hold, right? It's at least feasible. Sasha Banks is not believable at anything, right? It's just like there's a certain level. When you're too small at anything, right? It's like, okay, fine. Sasha Banks can wrestle Alexa Bliss and then they can have a believable match, right? But if in the same company you have Nia Jax, right? It's just absurd. It's just silly. You know, it would be like there's no weight classes or none of that ever in women's wrestling. So there's no like, you know, Nia Jax is going to wrestle Doudrop for the women's heavyweight title and Sasha Banks can wrestle, I don't know, Cora Jade or whatever for the women's cruiserweight title, or the bantamweight title, whatever you want. You call it whatever you want, right? But you see what I'm saying? Like, this would be like if you had, I don't know, Kalisto wrestling Great Khali and winning, right? It's just stupid, you know? Like, once in a while, you can get away with it, maybe, but realistically, you need the big guy to win. So Sasha Banks is not better in the ring than Jade Cargill because she lacks the number one attribute of being believable. Then, beyond that, we all know that Sasha Banks is a botch machine. Let's be real. She's a botch machine. Her, Naomi, fucking AJ Lee, basically everyone that sucks ass, 99% of women that have ever wrestled are botch machines, right? Because in the past, this was excusable, right? It was excusable for, let's say, Trish Stratus or Lita or Tori Wilson to be botch machines because they were very attractive women. So their career, like, to get to be wrestlers did not hinge on them being able to do an arm drag well enough, right? It hinged on them having sex appeal. So, as a result, the women that were selected were ones that had sex appeal. Now, they want us to believe that the real metric that we're valuing these women on is their in-ring ability. And the fact of the matter is, the in-ring ability, like, if you think, like, people, I'll give you an example. When the Women's Revolution was happening, right? People were like, Sasha Banks and Asuka are two of the best. They're in my top 10, right? Like, if you're being honest with yourself, right? If you took Asuka, right? Tony Nese is 100 times better in the ring than Asuka, right? Arya Davari is 100 times better in the ring than Asuka. Tozawa is 100. You see where I'm going with this, cucks? Everyone in 205 Live is better than Asuka, right? Everyone in 205 Live is better than Bianca Belair. Everyone in 205 Live is better than Rhea Ripley too, motherfucks. So this idea that women are good in the ring, it's like if you don't adjust for their gender and the fact that they don't have to be good in the ring because they come from a selection process that historically has prioritized attractiveness, right? You don't need that, right? In men's wrestling, that hasn't always been the case. You know, obviously, they want aesthetically pleasing men to be champions, right? But there's always been room for weird-looking fucks like Benoit or fucking, let's see, Eric Escobar. Remember him, motherfucks? There's always been room in wrestling for people that are like normal dudes. Like they're not like Bull Buchanan, The Godfather. These are not attractive guys, right? But they're big monsters. So the selection process is different. So I don't want to hear that Sasha Banks is good in the ring. And then furthermore, and in conclusion, if Sasha Banks was good in the ring, Mercedes Mone was good in the ring, cucks, then it doesn't even matter because she's not wrestling. So who gives a flying fuck? You know what I'm saying? What am I waiting for here? For Sasha Banks to get another boring ass title run with a mid-card title. So what? What's going to happen next? This has Saraya or Paige written all over it, motherfuckers. This will have absolutely no impact. And quite frankly, I think AEW would be better off by firing people like her. That's what I got to say about that, cucks.